And people keep criticising the AfD, saying they're disgusting, they hark back to the Nazis, but other parties don't seem to be offering a solution to this, Kezia.
There is no alternative anymore. You know, we've tried, Germany has also tried with the sort of much more in the middle, well, parties that say they're centre-right, they're not doing anything about immigration. So this is a reaction. This is just simply a reaction to... I mean, this is not the first time this has happened in Germany.
No, there have been some horrific attacks and similar attacks like this. In 2016, I believe there was one in which 13 people died. And, I mean, I'm just amazed that people are still willing to sacrifice children and women and innocent people on the altar of multiculturalism to say, well, you know, one day this is all going to work out. One day the attacks are going to stop.
I think multiculturalism was working to a certain point until we started letting in a lot of men from a particular area of the world. We have to be honest about that.
Yeah.
You know, multiculturalism, it's always had its ups and downs, but this is serious now.
Yeah.
This is children being killed on our streets.
Yeah.
And this man, a lot of people are saying, oh, but he was a right-wing sympathiser. Well, why didn't he attack a mosque?
Yeah, I mean...
Make it make sense for me, please.
Yeah, his actions don't align with what's being said about him, Nicholas, which is one of the things that, you know, I can't get my head around. People are saying... People are so quick to jump to blame, you know, the far right because he's tweeted before in support for the AfD. But this guy doesn't seem to be doing, you know, anything that, you know, a supposedly far-right person would be doing. He's behaving in the same manner as previous Islamist attacks. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you need to judge him by what he has done, not by any presumably pro-AfD previous tweets. The thing is, the media, just like mainstream parties, are totally in denial. And that's why people go towards the likes of AfD. And by the way, what does far-right mean anyway? Anyone to the right of Boris Johnson nowadays is far-right. You say, we want to control our borders and we don't want to become a minority in our own ancestral homelands, and please do not groom and rape our little girls, and they call you far-right, or as some of our classic liberal friends recently call us, woke-right. Yeah, that's the thing. And then when people like AfD in Germany, or Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, or Marine Le Pen in France do actually have the votes to govern and to make a difference, all other parties coalesce against them in a mathematical operation, not a political operation, and we see what is going on in France.
Yes. Yeah, and we saw in Italy, they even used the courts to try and stop Matteo Salvini. So he's the deputy prime minister in Italy, and he stopped the NGO boats. You've got these boats run by these, you know, shadily funded organisations who go and pick up, you know, the migrants, the cross-channel migrants, or in that case, the cross-Mediterranean migrants who want to come to Europe, and they bring them to Italy. So, you know, it's almost like a taxi service for people who want to just come into Europe. And they took him to court. They prosecuted him, saying, you know, it was like kidnapped by stopping these boats docking, which was the will of the Italian people. They were elected to stop the mass immigration. They prosecuted him, saying, I think the charge was something related to kidnapping. Now, luckily, yesterday he was acquitted. So, I mean, luckily that's a bit of good news that, you know, he's not going to jail for doing his job. But it's terrifying. I think people have just reached the point where they're sick of this, and they don't want... I mean, I saw this year with the Southport killings. I was like, I don't really care what it takes. I don't think it... Exactly. I think we're past the point of being polite. We're past the point of singing "Don't look back in anger."
Europe has lost its nerve. Europe has lost its nerve. This is not Europe from 100 years ago, 50 years ago. We've lost our nerve, and we have to close the borders. That's it now. We have to start bringing back something called temporary work visas. What is wrong with that concept? Yeah. Okay, if you're going to work in the NHS, or if you're going to work as a fireman or police officer, fine. But temporary work visas.
And of course, I've got to point out that, you know, it's only a tiny minority of people who come across into Europe who go on to do something like this.
Doesn't matter. It's too many people. It's not if it's beyond that. It's just too much pressure now. It's like a lot of people are just saying, well, just stop these people. No, we have to stop nearly everybody now coming in, because we cannot cope with it. Our infrastructure can't cope with it. We can't get GP appointments. You can't get your child into the local school.
Absolutely. I mean, those who commit terrorism might be a tiny minority, but the pressure on the resources, the low-trust society, the sectarian violence, the FGM, the honor killings, the cousin marriage, all sorts of dynamics and problematics, then you cannot call it a tiny minority.
Yeah, and of course there could be much closer scrutiny on people who are here. I mean, this man seemed to be a wrong-un who fell through the cracks, because even Saudi Arabia wanted to extradite him, apparently, for various crimes.
And they were warned by this woman who said she gave them a heads up that he was up to something. They just ignored it. What's going on here?
And he openly posted about killing civilians.
If he had been right-wing, he would have been locked up straight away.
Well, there's so much scrutiny on anything that could be perceived to be right-wing, because we're still living on under this sort of false paradigm of critical race theory and diversity, equity and inclusion. So there's got to be so much focus on this sort of illusion of a right-wing menace. But I genuinely haven't seen much of a far-right menace. I've just seen people who are angry about
and have a right to be angry. Have a right. Germans have to be angry about what happened. No look back in anger or anything like that. No lighting candles, because what they do is they light candles, sing a song, and they keep the borders open.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Shut the borders.
And of course,